Kotal Kahn was framed as a unique kind of Kahn. Not a ruthless conqueror or evil schemer, but a firm, pragmatic leader, hell-bent on making Outworld the best it can be. However, as his story developed, he began breaking this well-defined framework, becoming irrational and blinded by his misguided assumptions of Earthrealm and Raiden. He becomes completely imprudent and blindly opposes our protagonist by the end of MKX, disregarding what's best for Outworld. His mindset and decisions in the story aren't the only glaring inconsistencies. Kotal Kahn is a perfect example of NRS's larger power scaling issue, losing easy battles to people who should be on their knees, pleading for his mercy. Kotal is very clearly written to be a strong and imposing character. We see him effortlessly beat some of the best fighters in the series, wiping the floor with the likes of Mileena, Rain, Shao Kahn, and Goro, yet he's easily defeated by this bug, this dude with a stick, and this chick wearing gloves. Behind these inconsistencies lies something special, a unique, strong, and charismatic character, a powerful new take on Outworld's Kahn. A Kahn who doesn't just yearn for power and rules with an iron fist, but a Kahn with a heart. A Kahn willing to put his people first and himself second. A Kahn with boundless potential to be one of the most memorable in the series. Kotal's introduction in MKX starts strong. Most of us are meeting Kotal for the first time here in-game, or some of us may know him already from the Mortal Kombat X comic, which deserves its own video at some point. However, for this video, and to try and only critique aspects of the story canon to the game, I will only mention parts of the comics that I have a good reason to believe are canon, such as Kotal's fight with Goro being confirmed in-game by Kotal himself in Mortal Kombat 11.
Surely you can.
Queen Shiva does not trust me. No Shokan has since my bloody battle with Goro.
So I will be treating Kotal's Mortal Kombat X introduction as if it's the first time anyone is meeting him. Kotal is meeting with Kano to negotiate a price for Kano's aid in the war against Mileena. However, we can see Kano look outside the cart to see Mileena preparing for an ambush. The road is blocked and forces D'Vorah out of the cart to clear it. This is where Kano takes the opportunity to do what Mileena paid him to do, assassinate Kotal Kahn. Roughly 2 minutes pass before Kotal actually fights Kano. During this time, we are hit with a lot of important dialogue and information that quickly and effectively fills us in on the important events that are happening in Outworld during this time. We learn that Kotal is the new Khan, Mileena wants the throne, the two sides are engaged in a civil war because of this, and Mileena has Shinnok's amulet. With this information comes new questions that keep us engaged in the story and wanting to know more. How is Kotal the new Khan? Why isn't Mileena Khan? Why are Tanya and Rain on Mileena's side? Why does Mileena have or need Shinnok's amulet? Immediately, you are engaged with the story, with Kotal, Mileena, and Outworld, and you want to see more with just a few minutes of well-managed dialogue. The dialogue here does more than just fill us in on the overall story. When it comes to Kotal, we get an idea of his character, how he thinks, his demeanor, his personality. When Kano attacks Kotal, we also get our first showing of Kotal's strength. Assuming you hit all of the QuickTime events, Kotal handles Kano pretty easily. He's even quick to try and kill Kano after their fight, though Tanya saves him. We get another important dialogue exchange before this fight with Tanya as well.
I'm pleased you remember me, Kotal.
I will never forget those who freed Mileena.
She vowed to create a free Edenia, something you refused to do.
A united Outworld stands strong against its enemies.
It will never be united under your rule.
Your rebellion is all that prevents it.
We learn a few things here. Tanya helped free Mileena, which indicates to us that Mileena was previously imprisoned by Kotal. Tanya joined with Mileena because Mileena promised to free Edenia, which, if you don't know, Edenia was merged with Outworld because of Shao Kahn previously. However, Kotal wishes to keep Outworld united to bolster its strength, so he's refusing to free Edenia. This is what I believe to be Kotal's main goal, to make Outworld the best it can possibly be. This is his driving force for the rest of the story, to do what's best for Outworld. He doesn't just yearn for power or conquest like Shao did before him, rather he genuinely wants what's best for his home. This is further reinforced later in his story, but just know that moving forward, everything Kotal decides to do is centered around that goal. Next, we see Kotal just be a pure badass, effortlessly killing Tarkatan soldiers on his way to Melina. He then easily overpowers Melina and knocks her off the rooftop. He then fights Rain, the half-god, half-Adenian son of Argus, and wins, showing impressive feats of strength as he nearly single-handedly shuts down this ambush. Next, he fights Melina, who is no joke, half-Adenian, half-Tarkatan clone of Kitana, daughter of Shao Kahn, created by Shang Tsung with the purpose of succeeding Shao whenever that day came. We know she is strong, but even she knew before they fought that she had no chance against Kotal. She is beaten, and in a desperate effort to save her life, she uses Shinnok's amulet, knowing it will hurt her, to ward off Kotal and escape. This concludes Kotal's introduction, and it was a pretty damn good one. We learn about Kotal's goals, his personality, and the conflicts he faces. We are also shown just how strong Kotal is. He racks up some impressive wins in just his introduction chapter, setting him up as a powerful force not to be taken lightly. Hell, he is Khan of Outworld, after all, so his intro backs the connotation of being Khan. Unfortunately, throughout the rest of Kotal's story, nearly everything established in this intro is undone and poorly managed. We next see Kotal when the combat kids meet with him to discuss Shinnok's amulet. Kotal is initially distrusting of them as Earthrealm swore to protect the amulet and failed. He's also mad that they just marched into Outworld uninvited and interrupted whatever it was they were doing. Despite Cassie and Jin trying to convince Kotal that they intend no ill on him or Outworld, Kotal doesn't buy it, as he doesn't want to take the chance that they may be allies with Melina. Kung Jin then challenges Kotal to a trial by combat in order to absolve the group of any wrongdoing. This, Kotal accepts, and even compliments Jin for his knowledge of Outworld laws.
Kotal Kahn, under Outworld law, I claim the right of defense. By combat.
What?
You're gonna fight a duel?
To absolve us of all accusations. Denying the request brings dishonor upon the accuser.
You know much of Outworld.
This brief exchange also says a bit about Kotal's character. Even after he loses to Jin, he simply accepts his fate and tells Jin to kill him. Now, trust me, I will return to this loss to Jin in the power scaling portion of this video, but for now, I want to focus on what this interaction tells us about Kotal's character. We now know that Kotal is an adamant rule follower, especially concerning Outworld laws and customs. He limits himself to Outworld rules and shows that he is a leader to his people and not just a ruler of them. He honors the Reiko Accords with Earthrealm and does everything by the book. Seeing this display of leadership and by-the-book thinking, it's easy to understand how Kotal has amassed a large following who firmly support his rule as Khan. They see him not as a brutal ruler who does what he wants, but as a leader and fellow citizen bound by the same laws and punishments. This gives us now a pretty firm understanding of Kotal and what drives the decisions he makes. A reasonable and strong leader who abides by the rules, willing to do whatever he needs to protect and better Outworld. This is his framework, his character, the established persona of Kotal Kahn that will drive his every decision in the story. Or well, it should have. You see, after this, he breaks this character. He almost completely 180s into a typical Mortal Kombat bad guy jobber. But before this happens, we get a flashback of the day Kotal became Khan, successfully overthrowing Melina and seizing power. The most important takeaway from this flashback scene is that Kotal was able to sway Melina's followers by displaying his pragmatism and willingness to cooperate with other realms if it means preventing war and death in Outworld, reinforcing the idea that Kotal is a smart and reasonable leader.
If only you would hear our counsel. As war with Netherrealm looms, I have urged detente with Earthrealm.
And I've told you I would sooner die than treat with my father's murderers.
You refuse practical solutions to credible threats. You endanger the realm.
However, upon his execution of Melina and mere seconds after this flashback sequence, he completely flips, betrays the combat kids in Earthrealm, violates the Reiko Accords, and takes the amulet. This just doesn't make any sense to me. I can understand that he doesn't trust Earthrealm with the amulet since it's already gotten stolen, but to handle it like this is a huge mistake. He's actively choosing to make an enemy of Earthrealm now, breaking any trust they had built and ruining the chance at gaining a powerful ally to Outworld. Everything that we know about Kotal's character is shattered by this decision. He is risking retaliation and war with Earthrealm over the possession of the amulet when he could just let them return and request a formal discussion on how to cooperate and better protect the amulet so that it doesn't get taken again. From here, he just gives the amulet to D'Vorah, where she betrays him instantly, because suddenly we learn that she's actually just been playing the long game and was working with the Netherrealm to resurrect Shinnok this entire time. So now, Kotal has just doomed everyone by doing the very thing he was so worried Earthrealm would do. Then he blindly assumes that Earthrealm must be behind D'Vorah's betrayal despite all of the cooperation they have given him throughout the entire story.
D'Vorah and the Earthrealmers?
She stole the amulet, then helped them escape.
She betrayed us to the Thunder God.
You wound me, D'Vorah. Prepare the legions. We go to Earthrealm. We will wrest back the amulet from that devil Raiden.
I thought Kotal was supposed to be smart and reasonable, yet he takes a blind assumption about Earthrealm and decides to invade them to take the amulet back by force. He doesn't even know for sure if the amulet is even there. Why does he do this? He doesn't stop to think about any of it. Where's the amulet? Why did D'Vorah do this? Where is D'Vorah? Maybe it'd be helpful to find her first, Kotal. Then, when they get to Earthrealm, and Jackie tells Kotal about what's happening, he somehow gets dumber. He basically says, well, Earthrealm is cooked, so I'll just let y'all suffer. Bring your heads to Shinnok and prepare to fight Shinnok on our own.
Shinnok's been freed. He's at Raiden's Sky Temple. He's already infected Earthrealm's life force.
The heavens boil. Earthrealm is lost.
Not if we hang together.
I will appease Shinnok. Bring him your heads. Gain time to bolster Outworld's defenses.
Doesn't it make more sense here for Kotal to ally with Earthrealm, even at least temporarily, regardless of if they actually get conquered or not? I mean, Shinnok will come for Outworld too, so wouldn't it be smart to refuge as many Earthrealm warriors as possible and add them to your army to, I don't know, bolster your defenses? So now, we end Mortal Kombat X like this. Kotal has, at the minimum, raised tensions through the roof with Earthrealm, risked war between them, made countless mistakes that endangered Outworld either to Earthrealm, the Netherrealm, or Shinnok, and finally, he's proven to be a weak-ass bum of a Khan who loses fights to inexperienced young adults. This is now the impression we have of Kotal Kahn ending Mortal Kombat X, a complete dismantling of his character from a smart and powerful neutral ruler into a typical room-temperature IQ bad guy. This creates a distrust between the audience and Kotal's character. We don't know how to view Kotal moving forward and can't trust what we see from him going into Mortal Kombat 11. Will we get this strong, reasonable, and pragmatic leader, or the imprudent and impulsive bum of a Khan? Well, unfortunately for us, Mortal Kombat 11's story exists, so let's see what we got. A common theme with Mortal Kombat 11 is that things only get worse. Their mistakes were amplified in a manner that tells me they did not care for continuity since the story was getting reset anyway. A great example of this is Kotal's exchange with the past Raiden who had just arrived from his timeline into this one.
Everything changed after your defeat of Shinnok.
Shinnok's defeated?
Our realms joined to fight him. But in victory, you were hardened.
When did you unite to fight him, Kotal? If I remember right, I'm pretty sure you tried to, quote, appease him.
I will appease Shinnok. Bring him your heads. Gain time to bolster Outworld's defenses.
Did Kotal hit his head too hard here? The way you might be able to spin it as they united was when they were trying to get the amulet back from Mileena, but even that was met with resistance from Kotal. That also doesn't count as fighting Shinnok. He wasn't the focus, it was the amulet that was important because it was being misused by Mileena. So when the hell did Kotal think they united to fight Shinnok? Is he lying to gain Raiden's aid here? Did he get hit too hard by Xiao and it fogged up his memory? Or did the writers just stop caring enough about making sure their facts were right? It is astonishing the level of inconsistency here. They are trying to re-establish Kotal as a better man and Kahn than Xiao. Now that they have Xiao back, they want us to sympathize with and like Kotal as if he's always been the good guy. They got big scary Xiao back, so they don't need Kotal to make Outworld and Earthrealm clash. To be honest, I don't think they ever had a plan for Kotal. They made him neutral, then bad, and now we're supposed to believe he's an ally. If they wanted to take a route here where Kotal has managed to ally with Earthrealm and then Xiao comes back and is disgusted by the peace, then I could see that, especially if Kotal actually helped Earthrealm against Shinnok at the end of Mortal Kombat X. However, none of this makes any sense because he just never did that. So now we're left scratching our heads about Kotal and have no idea what to think about him at all. Kotal's overall arc in MK11 revolves around his hardened heart, focusing on Kotal learning to be more compassionate and sympathetic to those around him, more specifically the Tarkatans that have returned after he assumedly slaughtered their entire people for allying against him beside Melina. We learn that Kotal and Jade have a romantic history going at least as far back as the start of Mortal Kombat 9. The relationship feels kinda out of left field. There was never really any sort of indication that Kotal had such a relationship. If they had planned this since Kotal's debut in Mortal Kombat X, which I very much doubt, you'd think there'd be some hints that this relationship existed. Like maybe there could have been moments where Kotal second-guessed executing someone because he thought maybe Jade wouldn't want this. Or maybe there could be a visual hint somewhere, like a piece of jewelry we know belongs to Jade, or a picture of them somewhere. Instead, we got nothing, which makes the relationship feel pretty random, but if I'm being honest, I actually kind of like this relationship. It feels random, but also natural, as I think it fits Kotal's personality. He's already softer than any Kahn before him. He was shown to be sympathetic at times in Mortal Kombat X, proving he does have compassion for others despite his tendency to jump to death as the first choice of punishment. So it makes sense to me that Kotal may have picked up this softer side from a previous relationship in his past. We next see Kotal in Jade's chapter, where they are searching for Shao Kahn in the Tarkatan camp. Kotal initially suggests to just burn it all down and smoke out Shao Kahn. Jade obviously doesn't agree with this since it'll endanger innocent lives. So Kotal hears her out on her plan instead, but only after he gets his cheeks handed to him by D'Vorah, though Jade saves him from D'Vorah's ambush. They then infiltrate the camp and kill a bunch of Tarkatans. Kotal tries to execute them all, but Jade stops him. Kotal, still holding a grudge, reminds Jade about their rebellion against him, trying to justify his cruel actions. Jade decides to initiate a domestic dispute in front of the Tarkatan families. She beats Kotal senseless and knocks him unconscious for a concerning amount of time. This leaves him, and by extension, Jade, very unprepared for Shao Kahn, who arrives just as Kotal takes his forced nap. To wrap things up, Kotal is transported to the Colosseum to be publicly executed by Xiao. He's then freed when Kitana shows up with her army to battle Shao Kahn. Kotal rematches Shao Kahn and embarrassingly loses another fight. He's left crippled, he and Jade make up despite his hardened heart, blah blah blah. She knows his heart can change, they love each other. So sweet. The timeline gets reset and they get erased from existence anyway. I can't take it anymore. I need to talk about the power scaling problem before I down to a hole in my monitor. Before I dive into the specifics of Kotal, I want to briefly explain what power scaling is and why it's important to a story. Power scaling is essentially a hierarchy of character strength within their respective universe. The strongest sit at the top and the weakest at the bottom. If you establish a character as the strongest, they should be able to prove that throughout the story by beating lesser opponents, those who are below them in the hierarchy. If this isn't maintained to be consistent, it can ruin a few major things in the story: credibility, immersion, and stakes. I will be going over each of these three things and how it undermines Kotal's story. I will also provide a good example of a strong character losing while maintaining or enhancing each of those three things. Let's start with credibility. You want the audience to believe what's happening in the story within its context. If you want the audience to believe a character is strong, you need to show and establish that, as they did with Kotal's introduction. However, you need to maintain this and maintain that character's position on the hierarchy. If you break this and allow a far weaker character to beat them without a well-written or established reason, it ruins the credibility of the outcome. It makes the outcome feel forced to serve the plot, rather than be a natural continuation of events. Instead of the audience focusing on the plot and narrative, they will focus on the ridiculous outcome of the fight and question the logic of the story and whether the writers even care about their world building. This will hurt not just the stronger character, but the weaker one too. For example, when Kotal loses to Kung Jin, no one's going to say, "Oh wow, Kung Jin must be so strong," and believe that the outcome was natural. Instead, they're going to think, "How the hell did Kotal lose that? There's no way Kung Jin just won that." Because there was no setup at all. Jin was never prepared to fight Kotal, nor was Kotal weakened in any way. Jin has no setup as a strong and imposing character by this point. We never see Jin display a level of strength anywhere near what Kotal has, and so it makes the outcome unbelievable and frustrating. This ties into the next important thing, immersion. Once the audience can suspend disbelief and believe in what's happening in the world within its rules and context, they'll begin to immerse themselves into the story. They begin to attach their emotions to the characters and themes that are present, creating this emotional tie to the story. A full investment into what's happening. When inconsistencies start to show up and credibility is now in question, immersion becomes completely broken because the audience is too focused on the frustrating inconsistencies rather than the themes and narrative. This makes it hard for the audience to even care about the themes or characters because they aren't connecting to it on that emotional level. Finally, the stakes of the story become impossible to establish. How is the audience supposed to consider any character in the story a threat when the story shows that any random bum can beat up any supposedly strong character? If any random Joe can be on the level of a god in one fight but lose to an inexperienced bum in the next, then why should I believe any character is a threat at all, since any fight is a coin toss and can go either way no matter who it involves? Why should I be impressed by any wins or shocked by any losses? This also comes with the effect of severely undermining character growth. If every fight feels like a coin flip no matter who it involves, how can I believe a character actually got stronger? This is part of why Cassie's win over Shinnok doesn't sit well. By the time we reach that fight, we've been inundated with fights that should not have ended the way that they did. So did Cassie actually grow and become stronger by the end of the story? Or was Shinnok ever actually that strong? This works going backwards too. Kotal's victory over Goro becomes less and less impressive the more we watch Kotal get clowned on. Was Kotal always weak and just got lucky versus Goro? But then what does this mean for Goro? If Kotal is weaker than Kung Jin, but can beat Goro, does this mean Kung Jin is stronger than Goro and can beat him too? Now that we know why consistent power scaling is important, I want to provide a good example of a strong character losing a fight in a believable, immersive way that maintains and establishes the stakes. In the most recent installment of my favorite game franchise ever, God of War, Kratos meets and fights the Norse god Thor. We know how powerful Kratos is by this point, slaying the Greek pantheon in 24 hours in God of War 3, and killing the invincible Baldur and both of Thor's sons in God of War 4. However, we also know that Thor is an extremely powerful character as well. There are a lot of lore details in God of War 4 that set up and establish Thor as an extremely strong character, including a prophecy and shrine that tells of a time Thor hit the world serpent Jormungandr so hard he sent it back in time. Let me say that again. Thor hit the world serpent with so much physical force that he sent it back in time. Now, I can go on and on about the lore and how it's confirmed to have happened and not just a prophecy, but that's for a future video. Just know that Thor did in fact blast Jormungandr into the past with sheer physical force. That being said, by the time we fight Thor, there has been a full game to build up Thor to a point where we can believe he's a real threat to Kratos. That isn't all though, because despite the great setup that was given to Thor, it's still not quite slaying a pantheon in 24 hours insane. so feats alone don't make this even. However, Kratos' character development of holding back and controlling his rage during God of War 4 makes Kratos' loss here even more believable. Thor even makes a point during this entire fight that he knows Kratos is holding back. So when this happens,
oh no. I say when we're done. I'm not leaving till I see the real you.
and Kratos not only loses, but dies, we believe it. We fully believe that Thor is capable of beating Kratos. We become even more immersed emotionally in the story. We start wondering, what could happen if Kratos dies? What would that mean for Atreus, Mimir, Brock, and Sindri? Would Kratos' prophecy of death come true? The writers use these to carry the story forward. They keep the lingering threat of Kratos' possible demise over our heads the entire game, and it all started with this fight. The stakes were risen, and the fight's outcome was believable and immersive, all while Kratos, the pantheon-slaying god of war, lost the opening fight. So, to sum it up, the writers properly set up Thor's strength and weakened Kratos by having him hold back to make the outcome of the fight a believable and immersive one. So that is how you allow a stronger character to lose while maintaining the integrity of your power hierarchy. NRS should have done that when deciding to make Kotal lose to Jin or Jackie. Weaken Kotal and or set up and develop the others to even the fight somehow. Personally, I would have just preferred Kotal wins or they don't fight at all, since the fight with Kung Jin happens early in the story, and talking things out serves Kung Jin better in that situation. What I mean is that Kung Jin has already been shown to be a smooth talker. He has a way of convincing and swaying people into doing what benefits him. What I'd have done for this fight would be to allow the player to play as Kung Jin, as they did, win the fight to progress the story, and then just have the immediate cutscene show Kotal stand back up, get serious, and beat up Kung Jin. But Kotal would respect Kung Jin for putting his life on the line to prove he's telling the truth. Kotal would then believe Kung Jin because of that fact and let him go. This would progress the story the exact same way as they already had it, except it would keep the power hierarchy intact. But if Kotal must lose here, you need to write a believable reason for it. Otherwise, again, your audience will care more about how stupid the fight was rather than the story you are trying to tell. Despite the numerous inconsistencies of Kotal Kahn throughout his story, he still managed to leave a strong and lasting impression on many of us, myself included. If Kotal Kahn had retained consistency in his pragmatic nature, pristine reasoning skills, and brute strength throughout the series, I think Kotal would easily surpass Shao as my favorite Kahn, and possibly even be my favorite character in the series. He's brutal and resilient, yet kind and pragmatic. He's a beautiful representation of Aztec culture, something I wish I saw more of in gaming as I have roots that lead back to it. Kotal really is something special to me. He's a unique take on Outworld's Khan. He's a neutral ruler who really cares for his people, not just a Khan with a lust for power and conquest, but a Khan with a heart. And that's going to do it for today's video. I really do love and appreciate Kotal Kahn. He's been a favorite of mine since I first learned about him in Mortal Kombat X. I hope he comes back in the future. Despite what some people may think, I don't make these videos to hate or shit on MK. I love Mortal Kombat. It's what I grew up on. I make these videos because I want to see the game thrive and be better. Just because the game is focused on head-to-head online play doesn't mean it has to sacrifice a good story or be scared to try new things narratively. I'm just so sick and disappointed in having to watch this franchise reboot the universe over and over to retell the same stories over and over. I'm worried about the path of Mortal Kombat's storytelling. I'm afraid it'll turn into an Ouroboros eating its tail infinitely and just never changing. So please don't confuse my critiques for blind hate. I love Mortal Kombat. That being said, I hope you guys enjoyed today's video. I constantly want to improve and get better, so please leave your thoughts, questions, and or suggestions down in the comment section below, and I'll do my best to respond and take any advice you guys may have. Thank you all so much for watching, it means the world to me. Don't forget to leave a like and subscribe, hit the notification bell so you never miss an upload, and I'll see you guys in the next one.